Content warning, y'all. We have lots of fun making this podcast, but remember, we watch a lot of R-rated films, use language that reflects that, and joke about heavy topics to create levity around these themes. If that doesn't feel safe or could be triggering, please take care of yourself. We want you to have fun listening too. This also means we might not be suitable for children. Oh yeah, and we spoil the end of all the movies we pod about. Thanks for listening. You woke up and you were just like, I was like, oh, you look confused and in a little bit of pain. So I feel like maybe you slept last night.
And that's how I feel about when watching this movie.
No,
Making Mr. Right from... Oh, shit.
it's from 1987.
Okay.
Let
me read a list of the top grossing movies from 1987. Just kidding. Not going to do it this time.
Not gonna do it.
But only because I didn't think of it.
We chose this movie. I wanted to watch this movie because I really love it.
Yeah, you'd actually seen it before,
Yeah,
right?
I had seen it. I hadn't seen it in a very long time. I basically only remembered like the that like he has sex with someone. I remembered that.
The robot?
Yeah. And I couldn't remember. I felt like there was some like switcheroony that happened between Malkovich and Malkovich robot. But I didn't I didn't exactly remember what it was. I couldn't remember if like he got in a relationship with someone and like the robot, I don't know. I couldn't remember what exactly happened,
Yeah.
but
I vaguely remembered it existing, but it's definitely one I confused with Mr. Wrong.
Yeah. I never remember that it's called Making Mr. Right. I'm always like it's like like Mr. Wrong or something.
And then there's
what?
I discovered there's one fairly recently called something similar to.
Oh, really? I don't remember.
Mr. Right.
I don't remember. But I wanted to watch this because I remembered I always liked it, and I still do.
80s and Malkovich.
Yeah,
and
it's great. I think
Magnuson.
Yeah, I personally think it's great. I think it's great.
No, it's a perfect film.
No, it's not a perfect film. I didn't say it's perfect. I said it's great.
That's what you did.
I think it's.
You're on record.
I think it's great. I think it's fun. I think it has some interesting things in it that are like. I think it kind of flips the script a little bit on stuff.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
It's definitely not a perfect film. It's from the 80s, so it definitely has some like, stuff in it. But like, yeah, it's very interesting to me how, I don't know, I was like watching it and I was like, yeah, some of this stuff is like, would never be done now, but not like in a bad way. Not in a good way. I mean, like,
You mean because of cancel culture?
No, I mean because yeah, it would just like she like Anne Magnuson, huh? Risky? No, Anne Magnuson is very like strong and independent in a way that I'm like almost surprised by. Like she very much is like
right,
not putting up with shit at any point, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
And she's just like whatever, and she's not like. It's just very interesting. She's just like, yeah, I'm not like her boyfriend's cheating on her, so she immediately dumps him.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, you're going to take him back. I know. And she's like, no, I'm not. And she doesn't ever. Like, she asks him for a ride somewhere, and he like assumes they're getting back together, and she's just like, no. And like, that's like as far as it ever goes. Like people keep expecting her to like hook up with like people that are like not good for her and she's just like, that's okay. I'm not interested in that. And that's like it. Like she doesn't. Yeah. It's very interesting. Plus the whole, I think it's an interesting thing because it does Born Sexy Yesterday, but with a man and not a woman.
Yeah.
Which I think does not happen ever. I mean, it can, but like it almost never happens in the way that it's like very much him doing the Born Sexy Yesterday thing. And
is he supposed to be sexy?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't personally think John Malkovich is sexy, but you know. Anyway, so this movie, well, let's go into it. This movie stars John Malkovich.
Yes.
Times
in
2.
a dual role.
Times 2. Ann Magnuson.
That's Frankie.
Yeah.
Goes to Miami.
Oh God, I can't think of her name.
Well, there's Laurie Metcalf.
Laurie Metcalf is in it. Oh my God.
Glenn Headley, I think is her name.
Yeah. Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. And apparently she and Malkovich were married during this time.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
And those two and Metcalf all went through Steppenwolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
In nearby Chicago.
Yeah.
Nearby. Why am I saying it like that?
Because we're nearby Chicago.
Not really.
I mean, a couple hours, but we're in Illinois.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's okay. So
she was great.
Glenn
Headley. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know. I love her. I love her. I was very sad when I found out that she.
Yeah, she died in 2017.
I have trouble saying that. I don't like saying, I don't know. I was like, I got very uncomfortable. I didn't want to say like, oh, when she died, because I don't like know her personally. So I'm like, oh, make a joke about it. And I'm like, no, that's I was like, when she, and my brain was like, kick to the bucket. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Like, I feel like weird, like my impulse when like someone dies or when is to just be like, make it funny. And that's not, nobody needs that. That's me. That's my coping mechanism for when anyone dies. I'm just like, make a joke. And yeah, not everybody needs that.
Sure. Somebody needs to update her IMDb bio though, because it's like, for the last 14 years.
Uh-oh.
She's been. Yeah. Anyway. Directed by Sarah Seidelman, who of Desperately Seeking Susan and She Devil fame.
Oh, that's right. You said that like multiple times, and I'm like, what?
Uh-huh. I think that's one of the other reasons this movie got onto our list, or bumped up the queue, basically. Also, I found a DVD that had it on it.
Yes.
Along with 5 other movies.
We found a DVD of this, and we're able to like
acquire
a
version of it.
Like it was so difficult. Like we couldn't find it anywhere. Yeah. We found it like on YouTube, and we were going to try to watch it, and it was
awful.
so. I was like, I refuse, because it's like part of the allure of this movie for me was the aesthetics of it.
For sure.
And I was like, I refuse to watch something this butchered. Like if I was doing like a fucking like lo-fi
yeah, right.
You know, like chill wave steady beats music video, then I'd be fine using the low
Saves
grade.
You some time,
yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Then that's fine. But
I don't have to make it look like a digitized VHS.
Exactly. But yeah, I was like, no, I can't do this for actually. It turns out I do have standards. I didn't know. I didn't know.
I have some respect for.
I remember when I worked at the theater and they were showing Silence of the Lambs on film, and it was like
I bet it was trash.
The original, it was like one of the original ones. So it was like from the 90s, and it was trash. There was like, it had to be cut a bunch of times. Like, so there was just, oh God. And I was like in heaven. Oh my God.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh God, I loved it.
It wasn't painful for you?
No, it wasn't painful for me because I was like, this is like an artifact. This is literally like, you're not just watching the movie, you're watching how many times it's been seen. Like, and you're seeing like over the, oh God, I loved it. And like all these cinephiles were there and they were like, oh, this movie's trash. Like, I can't believe you guys are showing this. It's so garbage. And I was like, you don't love film. You don't actually love
No,
film.
you don't
I'm
give
like,
a fuck about
you
film.
have no concept. Like, if you really loved film, if you were really like a fucking cinephile, you would be excited about this because you'd be
Well-
able to know what happened to it. Like, if you really loved like
Yeah.
film, not just saying movies, like film, like that's part of the
Right.
thing. This is what happens with
medium
film.
of
This
film.
is
Yeah.
film. This
Right.
is why things get digitized, because over time they
Yes.
develop like scratches and stuff. Like there was one where like there was one scene where like the sound was so worn that it was just like
Oh, that's fascinating.
happening, and you could barely hear the dialogue. It was like because it had been scratched so like, and it was just like during
How
one.
many people asked for their money back?
I don't know. I don't know because I didn't work every showing of it, but like, oh my god. I was like legitimately in heaven, and like my ex was like ugh, that was horrible. And I was like, what are you fucking talking
watch
about?
it
That
on
was
DVD.
amazing. Right. I'm like, what are you fucking what did you expect? It was like literally like one of the original prints of it. So like it didn't get reprinted. It would like had been
Right.
around for 20 fucking years. Like, oh yeah, like at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Cuz like it came out in 1991 and it was like 2013 or something
Mhm.
when
Right.
or 2014 or yeah, probably 2013 cuz I quit working there in early 2014. And I was like, "What are you talking about? This is
Yep.
amazing!" And I got to like touch like I got to like do. I was so stoked. I was so into it, and I was just like so surprised when people were like, "Oh, this is garbage. I can't believe." And I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? This is fucking cool. This is
Yeah.
fucking cool." And like,
Anyone? Well, any
single person, anywhere, anyone.
Well, yeah. I tend to feel like
Mm-hmm.
any category of people or area of interest that ends with file
Yes, correct.
tends to.
Yes,
It's kind of a red flag.
yes, correct.
And
Especially
I'm not
when
just
people
saying because of pedos.
right. Especially when people like tout that as their fucking like.
For sure. 100%. That's
Like,
going to be.
oh my god.
If you actually
What is
call
it?
yourself
What
that,
is it? What
self-identify that.
the when they
Dunning-Kruger?
no. The one where like you like smart people or what? Oh god, what is it? It's like sapiosexual. Oh my! I mean, I know that's not file, but like, oh my god, that's such a red flag too. When someone's like, "I'm a sapiosexual," I'm like, so you're an asshole?
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
like what I like to say. It's like white dudes or like white people usually that are like, I'm Buddhist. You can almost always like cis white people who
Yep.
say that they are Buddhist, almost always, not every time, there are Buddhist white people, but when they
Sure.
like tout that, it's almost guaranteed that they're going to be a fucking asshole. How do I know this? The amount of Buddhists that have called me a fucking bitch.
How many is that?
I don't know, like 2.
I mean, that's.
I was just this one guy, he literally had a fucking face tattoo and he was just such a dick and he was like, I'm a Buddhist. And I was like, you're not a Buddhist. Like, there's just no fucking way that you're a Buddhist. I don't believe you. Because he was just such a dick. And he was like, no, I'm a Buddhist. And he like said like he was like, I'm a vegan, which is fine. Like,
Sure.
hashtag me too. You can cut that out. I didn't mean it the way that it came. I just meant like samesies. Hashtag samesies. There, you can keep that one in.
Thanks.
So he said he was a vegan, and I was like, that's fine. And he like we were giving him a ride to like Denny with him and a friend. We were like giving him a ride to like Denny's or whatever. And
Like you do.
yeah, and like we were like gonna go hang out at Denny's or whatever. It's fine, And he was like, no, I want to go to IHOP, and like I don't remember. It was like one or the other. And like his friend wanted to go to one, and he wanted to go to the other. And he was like, oh, there's not as many vegan options or something, which I don't think there's like any. Or like he didn't like the vegan options at one, and I get it, but I'm like, you're getting a ride, and like,
yeah,
this you're tagging along to where your friend wanted to go to, like you're not like whatever. So he was like, they don't have anything that's vegan there, and he was like, get fruit, and he's like, fruit's for fags, and I'm like, ah yes, the famous Buddhist saying, fruit is for fags.
Oh yeah, that's in the
yeah, the
writings of
And then he was just like so fucking rude to me. And I'm like, I'm literally driving you somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're treating me like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he like, I think he called me like a whore. I mean, he was just like so mean to me. And he called me like a bitch. And I was like, you're not a fucking Buddhist. You're not a fucking Buddhist. I know that like, just because you can't be this mad and angry at me immediately without knowing anything about me and like immediately jumping to like how much you fucking hate my guts and like
Come at me with compassion, bro.
Anyway, you can cut all this Buddhism out. Anyway.
No way. I'm gonna leave it in here so you're let the record show. Z has come out against Buddhism.
I remember reading about like the like how like some of the practices of Buddhism go against the teachings of Buddhism. Like, I don't know if that's factual. I'm just saying stuff I read when I was a teenager. Like, okay. I don't know. Like how I think it was Buddhism. How like Buddha said like not to like basically like do any sort of like self-flagellation or anything like that, and like how people do that like anyway. And I was like, what? That's so fucking... I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, I was a practicing Christian.
Welcome to religion, yeah. Right.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I also was like, oh, Buddhism, that's interesting. I was like, oh, Buddha sounds interesting. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And so, like, it, like, also changed my perspective on Buddhism a little bit. Because I was like, that's not, like, a weird, scary, otherworldly thing. Like, he sounds like a chill dude. Like, you know?
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And it sort of, like, it also changed my perspective on what that was. Because I didn't really know. But I was, like, reading about it for school or something. I don't know. And I don't remember much of it. Whatever. Anyway. So, Making Mr. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We got it on DVD because it.
Speaking of Siddhartha Gautama, shit.
Girl.
Shouldn't have opened that can of worms.
So. Okay, so the plot of the movie is Anne Magnuson plays. What is it? A marketing person?
Yeah.
Like she's like in marketing.
Right, like she's got an ad agency.
She's like PR. She does like PR or whatever. And she's working for a senator who she's also in a relationship with, but the senator.
Well, he's running for office.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. He's running for office, or yeah, maybe it's Congress. Maybe is it Senate or whatever.
House of Commons.
He's running.
House of Lords.
He's running a marathon.
House of Gucci.
There we go. He's running for House of Gucci.
I wrote down that he's Beto O'Rourke, basically.
Yeah, but yeah, you said that too. So he's right. So
hilarious, timely.
He basically, he basically is cheating on her. So she dumps him. That's like the opening scene. Is she's like, fuck off. You can, go fuck yourself or whatever. And then she goes to work at her PR agency, and she's like, hey, we're dropping him as a client. Isn't that cool? And everyone's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
isn't that cool? She also is like, it's her company.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. And she's just like a powerful, independent woman, you know, which I think is cool. But like on her way to work, she's like shaving her legs in the car with an electric razor. Yes. And I was like, I wrote down, I was like, oh man, I remember the disappointment I felt when I found out like electric razors were like, did not do a very good job at all. And I was just like, what? So yeah, it was funny. Anyway.
Remember Epiladies?
What's that?
They were
clearly no.
I mean, meant for shaving legs of women.
I was gonna say it looked like you shoved it near your crotch. I mean, like put your hand by your crotch, and you were like legs. I was like, oh.
But I never encountered one in real life, but they were advertised all the time in the late 80s or early 90s, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But they looked like torture devices because it wasn't just like an electric razor. It was like the part that you rubbed against your skin were like, it looked like tightly round springs.
Oh.
Coiled in two coils.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is literally looks like it's going to rip your hairs
Yeah.
out.
And you know what's fun? Sometimes they catch your hair and they don't like actually like if they're not that sharp because it's kind of it works.
This is the thing. This looks
it
like it
works
had no blades.
kind of like a lawnmower, like where you have like the blades on the inside and you just have like some coils on the outside to keep the blades from like catching against your skin, but like the blades on the inside aren't that sharp. And so sometimes they just catch your hair and just rip it out instead of cutting it.
Yeah.
And you just like every few hairs you just have one that just rips out, so it's like painful.
I started when I first started shaving. I started with electrics.
Nice. Were you like 25 or something?
Yeah, give or take. Anyway.
Sorry, I had to put. So anyway, like this science company, biotech or something. I don't know. What are they?
Chemtech, I think.
Chemtech. They come and they're like, we have a robot.
Thank you.
That we're like launching, and we need him to like be, basically they wanted her help with making him like have public appeal or something like that, or maybe not appeal.
Which is already confusing to me.
Yeah. Which
As
is
a premise.
Yeah, which like whatever. It's like it's thin, but like fine.
That's what she said.
So she like goes and she meets up with him, and like John Malkovich is the doctor, and then the robot looks exactly like John Malkovich.
Let's not forget Dr. Ramdas.
Oh yeah, the guy with the car.
The guy with the car, exactly.
My eye itched, so I scratched. So anyway, yeah. So in her, like, she basically is trying to get the robot to like, function, to mask, to pretend to be allistic. Because she's like, make eye contact. Don't talk about things that make people uncomfortable. Right. Don't. I was like, I wrote down. She's telling him that he needs to make eye contact so people will know he cares about what they're saying. Sus, fam.
Yes. I'm just nodding.
I know. So anyway.
You know.
I know that you're nodding because I can see you nod.
I know that you know. I said it because
I see
it's silent.
You nodding, but you can't.
If the head is nodding, don't come.
A scrotting.
Sure. Good enough. So the first time we encounter Ulysses, the ribbit.
Thank you. I could not remember.
I mean.
I'm always like John Malkovich and John Malkovich as a robot. Like, I don't.
Like, maybe we see footage of him beforehand, but when he first encounters Frankie and Magnuson's character, he's just like grabbing her tits and stuff.
Hell
like,
yeah, baby.
What are these?
Yeah.
And, and then Dr. Peters, I think, is Malkovich's human Malkovich, comes in and he's like, oh, he's freaking out because he's never encountered a woman. In the trivia, it points out that, like, earlier we see test footage. And there's a woman scientist or person in the room.
Also, like, he doesn't freak out because she's a woman. Like, what's happening is, like, I think she, like, slaps him because he grabs her tits and then he, like, has, like, an overload or something and, like, collapses. So, like, he's not actually freaking out because he's a woman. He's freaking out because he just got, like, smacked for, like, assaulting her. So, like, that's not accurate. But John Malkovich doesn't know that. And, like, the joke is, like, oh, he thinks that he's freaking out because she's a woman, but
he just got overwhelmed with hormones.
Yeah, or something.
The important thing is gender.
Yeah, correct. I know. I'm like, he wouldn't. I mean, yeah, he might be like, what are these? And this. I mean, like, I could see that happening because I feel like little kids do that, and I feel like that. I didn't feel like that was as like, like. I thought that was okay. I've literally seen kids like walk up and like grab a tit and just be like whatever. So it's like it seems like it's really awful, but like I could see like someone that's like never encountered breasts, literally just being like, what is this? What is this supposed to do? So that didn't bother me that much because I'm like, yeah, if you're literally have no idea what's going on and what bodies are, and especially if I felt like that was like almost realistic because I'm like, yeah, with the way that his upbringing or whatever was, like, he was probably encouraged to like constantly question, like, oh yeah, pick this up, turn it around, look at it, study it, figure it out. You know what I mean? So I can see him being like,
flip it, bop it.
Exactly. But it's also like, yeah, like I'm sure that would have probably happened like much early on. Like, what, you didn't show him any images of women, you didn't show him any like anything at all. Like, he's just never seen someone that could possibly have tits ever. And that's just that. There we go. Like, this is
and you can talk about my neurodivergence or what have you, but
go ahead.
This is one of the things that is difficult for me with not something that uses science fiction kind of premise, when really they don't care about the science fiction part of it. It's just it's a kind of fairy tale, because all you really need is a person who is a blank slate, is what you're wanting.
Right.
As you said, born sexy yesterday kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason it's sci-fi. It's the only reason it's a robot.
Yeah.
The hijinks of, it's the same as like any of the tales of like people raised by wolves or apes and then brought into civilization and they don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Yes. Or they're a bum and they've been discovered by they try to kill themselves in an upper middle class household's pool.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, so but because it's meant to be, it uses a sci-fi thing. It gets under my skin a little bit, and at some layer of I'm not going to suspend my disbelief.
I refuse to believe this.
I watch so much Star Trek all the time.
Yeah. I wrote down the quote, hoopy doopy.
One of the things is that you can't sit around on your hoopy doopy waiting for Mr. Right to come.
She's not doing that.
Yeah, I know, but you've got to get out there and you've got to let yourself be known. You've got to say, here I am and I'm worthwhile.
That's what it was, yeah.
I don't fucking...
That is someone on Donahue says that.
Hoopy doopy. Hoopy doopy. Hoopy doopy. What the fuck?
Sitting on your hoopy doopy.
Also, but the premise is like they're gonna shoot, like they make the robot. I mean, this is why, I guess, what they make this is kind of confusing, but also like I get it. They make the robot so that they can have someone, like he's doing like a 7-year or like an 8-year or something like that mission in space. And so they made a robot so they can have someone go into space that doesn't need humans. I think that's an interesting enough premise. Like I feel like that's an okay reason to make a robot. Like you're making it. But what doesn't make sense about this is that they're like, we have to make him be around, like we have to make him socially adept so that he can go into space all by himself. I'm like, why? If the whole point is that like he doesn't need to be around humans, but you want the press, so you want him to be like socially, so you want him to be able to like mask or whatever. Like that was the only thing that was confusing. I'm like,
I have some responses.
Oh, please.
First,
I just wanted to say it.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
No. Well, that's actually one of the main sort of presented as one of the main driving conflicts of between Magnuson's character and Malkovich's character. Mm-hmm. But if I remember right, they kind of frame it as like we're doing this ad campaign, or we want to do an ad campaign to make. We've created a robot. One of the potential applications is things like long-term space travel.
Yeah.
That is not suitable for humans. But they hire the PR firm or marketing firm or whatever to gain popular support or like exposure.
Well, because I think. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say because I think when they go to her, they say like they're running out of funds and they need it to.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I think that's like the premise.
Okay.
Continue. Sorry.
No, that's good. Thank you. But so like. One of the specific things they say they want from the agency is to make him seem more human to the public.
Right. Yeah.
And then, like, some of the shit we see is there's, like, standees of him and shit like that. The actual ad campaign is pretty confusing. But,
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I want to back up to say already that premise to me is ridiculous. Like, why do you need an android? Why do you need a human shaped robot?
Right.
To pilot a spacecraft.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Period. Just make it an AI, or it doesn't even have to be,
or automate this. Well, it's confusing.
It doesn't. Why do you need any kind of automation that isn't remote control? Whatever. Like, I know. I feel like it's one of those things that.
I mean, I think
you come up against. It's like Tron or the shit from Electric Dreams, where it's like, okay, well, most people didn't have as much base level knowledge about computing and automation and shit like that at the time.
Right. But also, I mean, like, if the point of it is like observation, like they want it to be reported what was seen, and they want it to be reported like what it was like, or like what things looked like and stuff like that. Like having someone to go to look and observe and be able to like, say like what things looked like or whatever. That is, I guess, a reason,
I know.
Well, like,
just put cameras and sensors.
Right, but that's what I mean. You wouldn't be able to.
I know that's all the robot is.
Right, but like the cameras in the 80s weren't necessarily as sophisticated. I'm just saying. Like,
yeah. Anyway, clearly we're not meant to
you
think
could say
about
like,
these things
it moved, like, I saw this like cloud or something, like space cloud, and it moved this fast, or like whatever. Like you could have like literal observations and like. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm not saying this is a good reason. I'm saying this is a reason. This is a reason that you might build a robot for literal observational purposes. Like, that's kind of what AI is for anyway. Like, AI is like to automate a process that gets done by humans.
Right.
It's not necessarily more efficient. It's just like, we're still doing it. Like, it's just a way that you don't have, like, I mean, why send humans into space anyway?
Right.
That could be, the
yes.
whole just breaks down like that,
Yeah.
That's all.
And then back to I don't feel like this is. I feel like I probably just missed it, but tell me if I'm wrong. But like Frankie she basically moves into Kimtech.
Oh, so what happens is, her friend leaves her husband.
That's Glenn Headley.
Yeah. She leaves
Shows
her
up
husband.
on her lawn.
Yeah. And he keeps, like, him and his people, because he's like, she's married to a movie star.
Right.
And so, or like a soap opera star. So him and his, like, agents, or I don't know, his people that, like, make sandwiches in his kitchen or whatever.
The important thing is they're very clearly meant to be Jews.
They keep coming in, like, basically, like, she's there taking up space, or she's there doing things, and like and Ann Magnuson doesn't have any space. She's
displaced.
Right. So she just goes there to get sleep, or like to do. She's not purposely trying to like stay there. She's just like.
I thought that was part of the deal of like, so she can study Ulysses and.
No, there's like one part where she's like, "Oh my God, I haven't changed my clothes in 2 days. She's like, "Oh my God, I just want to sleep and like change my clothes," and like she just hasn't she hasn't been able to, because like one thing or another has blown up. Like the first night she sleeps there because like Glenn Headley's like husband and people are there,
Right.
like, like in her kitchen and like fighting in her bedroom. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll just go to Chemtech and sleep.
Okay.
So then the next night is when Ulysses gets out and is like on a date with Laurie Metcalf.
Oh.
And Anne Magnuson is like looking everywhere for him, and then she finds him and she just like falls asleep on the couch there because she's really tired because it's like 3 a.m. or whatever. So like she's not purposely moving in there. She's just like basically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Clearing that up. But I brought that up because in her interactions with Ulysses, now that they're in closer quarters, she starts doing the stuff like, you got to make eye contact.
Yeah. And she kisses him?
Yeah. After.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say... Oh, sorry. Yeah, please.
This is back... I just want to point out, or make the point that she starts doing that kind of stuff, and when Peters finds out, human Malkovich finds out, they go to Dr. Ramdas, I think, and he's like, we're going to send this guy into space, and the whole point is it's a robot who's going to be alone, but she's doing all this shit about human relations, so that's gonna fuck up the whole purpose. That's all.
Yeah. Right. She is cluttering his progress with useless nonsense, monopolizing very valuable training time with God knows what. Emotional tics that I have worked to get out of my own personality, she has managed to drum into him overnight. This morning, Ulysses met me in that hall. And he kissed me right near my mouth.
That does become an important plot point, though.
Yeah. This is something, though, that I find in movies. And, like, this is something in my quest of discovering whether or not I am, in fact, autistic. I have like discovered that like this is a thing that always like bothers me. Like there's a lot of like breakdowns of like neurodivergent but especially autistic communication versus holistic or neurotypical communication. And like this is a thing where like it's always bothered me because it's so but I'm like, oh, has it bothered me because
right.
I'm not holistic. Like the breakdown of something that's incorrect. So like she kisses him on the cheek and he's like, what was that? He's like very confused. And she says, oh, it's a sign of love or affection. Or she's like, when you kiss someone, it means you like, it's a sign of love or affection. And he's like, oh. And then she's like, okay, good night. And I'm like, okay. No.
Yeah.
That is not.
Also,
because.
Doesn't it come right after she kind of scolds him for some kind of inappropriate?
Yes.
Like
she's like telling him to like get out of her room or something. I don't know. And he's like, okay. And then she kisses him and she's like, it's a sign of love or affection. And he's just like very confused. And then she's like, good night. And she like shoves him out and like locks the door. And he's just like standing there like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, you see, there are rules for social behavior, and, relationships between people develop in stages, and to get physical with someone, you have to get to know them first. Now, if you don't mind, had a very long day, and I'd like to get some sleep. Good night, Ulysses.
Good night.
Good night.
What was that?
A kiss. People kiss when they like each other. It's a sign of love or affection. Although in my case, maybe I'm going nuts. Now, Ulysses, if you don't mind, could you just stand out here in the hallway?
And like this is the thing where I see it in movies all the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's like I don't understand if this is how I'm like, would you actually communicate that to someone? Because that's not how if I like kiss someone and they were like, oh, I don't know what that is, I'd be like, oh, like kissing someone is something you do when you are fond of someone or affectionate towards them, and it has levels. Like, there's different types of kisses. Like, a kiss on the cheek is usually something that friends do, or like, you know, like a parent to a child. Like, it's a different type of thing. You know, like, there's no breakdown of anything. It's just like a kiss is what you do when you love someone. Goodbye, Ulysses. And I'm like, that's what? And it's very confusing. Like, and like, I'm just like, what? But I find this.
Would you say that to a child?
Exactly. That's right. But I find this in most, like, in so many films, this is a thing that happens. Like, and you'll be like, nope, that's not what happened. Like, you'll catch it too. I can't remember. It was like when we were watching, I think it was last night's movie. I can't remember though. But they'll have a conversation.
Right.
And they will not say the thing outright.
Yeah.
Or they won't say the thing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or what I infer from that conversation is something completely different. And then, like, when they give a rundown of it later, they're like, so-and-so said this thing that they never actually said during the conversation. And I'm like, that never happened.
Oh, yeah.
That never happened. And I'm like, but that's not how I took, that's what? Or they'll be like, you know, I'm trying to think of, like, a specific example where they'll be like, I think it's important for this to happen. And they'll be like, I think it's important for something else to happen first. And then, like, when they're breaking down the conversation, they're like, we had a fight and you told me that you didn't like the way that I did such and such. And they'll be like, I know, but... And I'm like, no, that never happened. You both said, that never happened. You didn't fight. You weren't fighting. And you didn't say that you didn't like the way they did something. You just said you liked something. What? And I'm like, wait, is this how neurotypical people communicate? Is this what they... Is that what they... And it's confusing for me because I'm like, that never happened. You never actually said that. That is not what I inferred from the conversation. And it trips me up so fucking bad. So that was one of those examples where I'm like, but you did... No. Like, it's... And because, like you said... Would you explain to a child that way? Like, if you have,
and if so, would you be surprised when they get it wrong? You know, next time, like,
it's so confusing. Where I'm like, why would you? It's like such a, like, communication is such a, it's where I, like, get my fucking, like, I get so irate. With, like, people communicating. Like when I worked at a cafe and people would be like, this person's stupid because they don't do XYZ. And I'd be like, oh, did you tell them to do XYZ? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like,
they should just know.
How would they know if you didn't tell them? Because I told them I did XYZ. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Why would that?
Oh, man.
Why would they change the way they did something? Because I do it this way and I'm better than them. And I'm like, they don't know. It was like, drove me fucking nuts. I was like, I literally don't understand why you think that someone would just stop the way that they're used to doing something because you said you do it differently. Like, that's literally just a fact. Like, you're stating
you're
a
just
fact.
reporting. It's not a...
This is how I do it. It works faster for me. Okay.
I have a quote or a note here that I can't really interpret both. I can't. Meaning can't even sure I read it. Can't even sure I read it.
No, you said it normal.
It's the third word that I can't tell what I've written.
Okay.
But it says something like New Jersey theme is Jurassic Park. When does New Jersey come up?
It's not just a state. It's a state of mind.
No, I don't know. New Jersey theme is Jurassic Park? But Jurassic Park came out a long time.
Oh, I bet it's musically. Musical theme, because yes, that's right. There's some musical motif that happens that I'm like, sounds like Jurassic Park. Okay.
I do want to say, I think John Malkovich is actually really amazing in this. I don't think I ever really noticed it before because he truly
definitely his physical characterization for Ulysses is really fun and good. He seems
like too actively different.
Oh, yeah.
He does not seem like...
you never confuse him.
Yes. Like, it's so impressive to me. And I'm just like, I think John Malkovich is, like, a really great actor. I think he's a weirdo. I think he looks weird. I think he is weird. But I think he's such an amazing actor. Also, fun fact.
Yes.
Sorry. Are you okay?
Yeah, I thought you were pointing at me.
No. Fun fact. And I think I saw like John Malkovich say this on like Graham Norton or something. So I'm not just like reciting this out of like thin air. Like John Malkovich. I mean, I'm saying I think he was on Graham Norton when he said this, but John Malkovich has said this out loud.
Okay.
I'm getting this from John Malkovich. This is so bizarre to me. He often gets images. His fan mail consists of, I don't know how high a number, but a high enough number of just pussy shots from women.
Just crotch shots, huh?
Yeah. Just taking pictures of their crotch and mailing him the pictures.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I cannot. Well, first of all, I can't stress enough how much unsolicited genitalia is never appreciated. Like, I don't want to see it from anyone. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what genitals you have.
Mm-hmm.
Unsolicited.
Okay, but what if there's a robo-dick involved?
Hate you. If it's unsolicited. If it's unsolicited, then that would be a giant NO. Yeah, I don't want to see it, really. I mean, like, if I'm following someone, I follow a lot of sex workers on the TL. Got a lot of that pop up on my timeline. That's chill. I'm fine with that. I know what I'm getting.
Right, but that's not unsolicited.
Right, correct. But, like, if you get a message and you open it up and it's just someone's dick, why? Or, like, a vagina, why? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see it.
Yeah,
I don't know
especially
why.
at this point.
I
so
don't
widely
know.
known to be unpleasant.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this was, like, over 10 years ago that he said this.
Okay.
I'm
still.
not saying, yeah. I just, the demographic of people that,
to me,
like,
it's already confusing that someone
correct.
would do that without a request.
Correct.
Period.
Correct. Yes.
Period. But okay.
Also, imagine being that photo center that's, like, developing those photos.
Oh, you mean on film? Because
I'm assuming because he gets mail, like his fan
physical mail.
Yeah, I mean that's how I understood it. What?
I know. No.
Good Lord, Flickr's bad enough, man. Flickr in like 2009, 2010 was just crotch shots.
Really?
Everything was just crotch shots. It was
Remember
horrifying.
what was it called? Chat roulette. Anyway, yeah, Malkovich. Turns out, he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's
Who knew?
amazing. Yeah,
Who knew?
Who knew? And who knew that people decide to appreciate his acting by sending him crotch shots? But yeah, he's really great. I've discovered how much I enjoyed him when I watched Being John Malkovich, and I was just like, he had to be such a good fucking sport to do this.
Oh, right.
I was like, oh my God, it's so funny, it's so ridiculous. Why?
It's also great because he's not someone you would guess would be capable of that. He just seems so serious.
Yes, exactly. What I think he's like the best part of Space Force. I don't think the show's very good. I think the only funny part is like John Malkovich freaking out every 5 seconds. It's really funny.
Maybe the best part of Velvet Buzzsaw, where the fuck that movie was.
Is he in that?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Remember, he's like the veteran artist.
I don't remember at all.
Yep.
So I saw him on, I think like Craig Ferguson, I think, if I remember correctly. And he said, like, when he got the script for John Malkovich, for Being John Malkovich, he was like, this is amazing. This is great. I love it. Who else could it be besides me? Like, I don't want to be in this. Like, I want to see it, but I don't want to be in it. And they were like, no. They were like, then never mind. I'll only make this if it's got to be Being John Malkovich. Like, it's not anything else. And so, like, it took him a minute to actually. He was like, I love it. Who else can be in it? Like, who could it be other than me? And they were like, no. Maybe you don't get it then. I guess you don't get it. Anyway. Yeah, I was like,
one of my favorite parts of that movie is when is it Charlie Sheen that comes over? And he's like, what's up, Malkinator? He's like, what's up, machine?
I know. Oh God, I love it.
And don't they make reference to Gary Busey or something?
They might. I don't remember.
And also when he's ordering the fucking towels on the phone,
oh God,
it's like one of the first times somebody's in his head
yeah.
or whatever.
Oh God.
Anyway. That movie's about gender performance. Ann Magnuson was a little rough, but this is got to be one of her early roles.
She's so fucking hot, though.
Yeah.
Ann Magnuson's really hot, in my opinion.
I think
I am.
I find her more attractive now than.
Oh, yeah. I just mean, like, she's someone that's, like, stayed.
Yeah.
Good looking. Also, when she was in Picard and she said, sheer fucking hubris. I'm like.
I remember she said an F word.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
That's, like, you're saying the F curse in Star Trek? Ann, come on.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Like, it's like, that's hotter to me than getting a crotch shot from someone.
Oh,
just
sure.
Ann Magnuson saying the fuck word in Star Trek.
To Jean-Luc?
Exactly. I mean, come on. Hello. That's like...
And she's right.
Exactly. Fucking shit.
It's not
yeah. Yes.
Admiral Nechayev or whoever.
Yeah. You got it right. Also, like, Ann Magnuson... Frankie's sister having teal hair and pit hair.
Yes.
I was like, what is this, 2021?
Yeah. It's right at the tongue.
Yeah.
They're the template for every
yeah
bisexual or NB of today.
And fucking the suit salesman.
Oh, yeah.
Take a look at this guy, huh? That's what we call pizzazz.
Salmonius from Xena. Oh, God.
Enzo from Venture Brothers.
Yeah. I was obsessed with Xena and Hercules when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, you're the only one.
I know. Yeah, that's why I'm talking about it.
That's such a niche thing.
Especially for queer people.
You may as well be talking about space above and beyond.
No one that listens to this will
or
know
Buffy,
what I'm...
or Angel. Or...
No, Space Above and Beyond, I honestly believe, like, no one fucking...
No, yeah,
that did not even make a full season, and also...
Clancy Brown is in that? No.
He was in Earth 2.
Ah. Another thing I've never seen.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. I was very obsessed with those. But yeah, that's... I mean, okay, so Laurie Metcalf is in it. Laurie Metcalf plays... someone who, like, went on a date with John Malkovich, like, his doctor character or whatever. Right. The non-robot John Malkovich. And she is like... oh, let's go on another date. And he's like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. And so she sees, like,
they're
Ulysses.
co-workers, too, aren't they?
I think maybe. I can't tell. Like, maybe, I guess. Like, it's not clear what she does.
Because I think some of the scenes are, like,
well,
at
she, like,
Chemtech.
Yeah, they're all at Chemtech. But she, like, goes and leaves, but, like, and she has, like, a tag, but, like, she's never in a lab coat, so she's, like, not a doctor.
Yeah, she's
so,
just
like,
admin or something.
Yeah, something. I don't know, but whatever.
Secretary.
But I was like, so she's playing, like, the super annoying, you know, whatever, like, girl that's, like, really into him that isn't picking up social cues that he doesn't like her. Interesting how everyone in here is just not good at picking up social cues. That's weird. Anyway. Subtle social cues, I guess I should say. Anyway. So she, like, Ulysses escapes. He sneaks out. And, you know, he looks just like the doctor, so everyone just thinks
it's like the end of season 1 of Westworld.
Westworld. I was like, escort. What's escort? Anyway. Yeah. So he sneaks out. She sees him out. They're supposed to have a date. And, sorry, I'm just ignoring.
Ignored.
He sneaks out. She sees him. Since they're supposed to be on a date, like, they're supposed to go on a date. She's like, oh, you want to just hang out now? And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So they're hanging out, but she doesn't know that he's the robot and not the doctor. And I would argue that she doesn't know the robot exists.
Not a doctor.
Because she doesn't seem like she's... Yeah,
correct.
So, but she has, like... I wrote, like, imagine having
Despite there being a mass media campaign.
Right, I know. Imagine having to give Laurie Metcalf an ugly haircut just so she's not competition for Ann Magnuson. Like, they have to work so hard to fucking ugly her up, and it doesn't work because it's Laurie Metcalf, and she's fucking amazing and hot. But, like, they tried so hard to make her look like shit in this, just so that she's not even remotely competitive against Ann Magnuson. It's ridiculous. I'm like, just what the fuck ever. Like, who gives a shit? But yeah, and it's like semi funny, like, but it's also like really weird. Like there were like interactions.
You look great. You got a tuxedo on and everything. I hope you didn't do that just for me. Although I'd really be flattered if you did. We're still on for tonight, aren't we? Because I had a great time the other night, and I was just thinking that you were just beginning to like me, although I don't want to pressure you at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is where I don't understand like straight women. You know, where it's like, I like this person, this man so much that I'm just going to be like put up with like him not being nice to me and not doing anything. And I'm just going to finish this date. I'm just going to finish the date with him. And then
maybe someday we'll have kids.
Yeah. And you're like, what? Why? I don't understand.
I don't either.
Just go home. Go home.
But we need to talk about the husband.
Let's talk about the husband.
At some point, Ulysses gets to Frankie's house, actual home, and we find out that he and Glenn Headley have boned.
And you find that out because
she thinks she's killed Dr. Peters or whoever he is.
Yeah, she thinks she
doesn't know it's a robot.
No, Ann Magnuson tells her that that's her cousin.
Oh, okay.
She's like, my cousin's coming into town. If he acts a little weird, ignore
that's
it.
Right,
it's fine.
Right.
So she's like, oh my God, I killed your cousin. And so
it's like that episode of This Way Up we just watched.
Yes. Oh God, I was literally just thinking about that. I was like, oh my God. So she's like, oh, sorry, that was so fucking painful. So she's like, I killed him, and his like ass is like exposed on the floor, and then his face is like facing the same way as his ass. She's like,
your cousin is dead on the kitchen floor. He was on top of me, inside me, and then he just started going crazy. His head started twisting up, and he died.
What I like about that is like it's very much implied. Like Ann Magnuson is worried that like Glenn Headley was like, just like kind of taking advantage. I mean, she's like, no, he wanted to, and like he was, very into it, and he was the only thing that happened was like his head turned around and then he fell down. And I like that because I feel like it makes it implicit that like it was consensual. Like she didn't push him to do it.
Right.
She wasn't forcing herself on him.
Vice versa.
Yeah. He was very much into it. It's just like he got overwhelmed and his head turned around. So I appreciate right. We can all attest to this. This is a fact that happens during sex. But I appreciated that. I was like, no, I like the fact that they're very much like explaining that this was not something, she wasn't just like forcing herself on him.
Right.
He wasn't like being inappropriate. They, it was very much.
We can't call it fully consensual though, because she didn't know it was a robot. And she's clearly freaked out by the fact.
But then she doesn't really care. Then she's like into the doctor because he's the real version. But anyway, the movie ends with John Malkovich and Ulysses trading places. So John Malkovich goes into space instead of Ulysses. And they do this
and
by
everyone's happy ever after.
And like then Ulysses goes with Ann Magnuson. It's
a good reveal though.
I do. I appreciated it for a couple reasons. One, because I like the fact that like Ann Magnuson develops feelings for him like sort of separate from his like learning about like sex and things like that. Like she's not the one that has sex with him.
Right.
She's not the one that like takes him on a date. Like he learns about all these things from other people. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all these things that other people taught me, I want to do them with you. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's really like, and she.
There's some point where he says, I want to love you, Frankie.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a very, I appreciated that because I'm like, oh, right. They're showing you that he is consciously making this choice. Like, he's not like mimicking a behavior repeated, like he's not repeatedly mimicking a behavior. Like she's not the one saying like this is what a date is. Mm-hmm. someone else takes him on a date. And he's like, okay, Frankie, I want to do that with you. You know, like someone else has sex with him. And he's like, he's like, can you have sex with someone else? Can you have sex with someone if you don't love them?
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
right.
he has this whole thing where he's like, can you have sex with someone you don't love? But if you love someone and you haven't had sex, like,
Right.
does that ruin that? Like, he's like asking all these questions, and I appreciated that because I'm like, oh, it's breaking down and it's showing you that he's like actually experiencing life and able to say like, okay, this is what is happening. Like, this is life. These are my experiences that I'm having, but I wish I was having it with you, you know, instead of she's showing him all this stuff and he's like, okay, I like doing this. Let's keep doing this. And like, without sort of like,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
yeah, it's very apparent that a choice is being made as opposed to him just being used to a routine.
Yeah, right.
You know, and he's like, okay, we've gone on a date, we've done sex, so we will do this forever and ever. Like, and like, okay, I love you, yay, we're together. None of that was happening. Like his life experiences are separate from his affection for Frankie. Like, they are happening like parallel, basically, instead of. So I appreciated that, like in this movie. And again, I feel like that's not necessarily something that would happen now. I feel like now the sex thing, like, she's not bothered at all by him having sex with her friend. Like, she's not free. Like, what she's upset by is that like he's malfunctioning and she's worried that he's hurt. That's what she's worried about. And I feel like that wouldn't happen now. Like, it's the same thing with oh God, what was that? Val Kilmer, Real Genius?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how he's like, oh, when he's like, the kid is talking to the girl he likes.
Right.
And he's like, oh, she wanted to have sex with me. And she's like, okay, so you had sex with her. And he's like, no, because I want to have sex with you. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, and it's like not a thing. Like, she's just like, yeah, I don't actually want to hear about you having sex with someone else. You know, she's like, it's like, you did that, great, but I really need a boundary around you talking about it. He's like, no, we didn't, because I wanted to have sex with you instead. And she's like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that would never happen now. Now it would be so overly complicated, and it'd be the whole, and it's like, no, it doesn't have to be, like, it's whatever. Anyway, whatever. I like that.
Yeah. The jealousy is just so expected.
Right. Jealousy is just like such
normalized in the way, and in the most toxic way.
Sometimes I get like really surprised by stuff that's like from the 80s that like does it in like such a bet. I'm like, wow.
This is the thing. You know, this is my favorite example. I've probably said it on the pod, and again, it's not about this kind of dynamic specifically. Actually, it's about a very different topic, but it's like watching Three's Company as an adult.
Yeah.
But this is specifically about like how gayness is treated. Like, it's constantly a joke that John Ritter's character is pretending to be gay.
Right.
But it's an open joke, right? Like, that's one of the, and so it's not.
Yeah.
It's still, there's a lot of implicit homophobia, right?
Yeah.
However, you wouldn't see that now. Like, it's like, you're still acknowledging that gay people exist and are in the world and rent apartments and have relationships, and that's just a fact of life.
Right.
Whereas, you know, since the 80s, it feels like in media, it's like, oh, if we bring up a gay person, it's got to be the whole fucking center of the thing. Because it's a controversy that they exist.
Right.
Now.
And it's got to be like, they have to be like tokenized or like tragic gay.
Yes.
It has to be something. You're like, oh my God, what if like we didn't do that?
Exactly. It's like it's Philadelphia or it's.
Yeah. It's like, it's one of the reasons why, I appreciated like Hacks. It was like probably the best part in Hacks. Like her like assistant or whatever, or I don't remember, her accountant maybe, I don't remember. But he like
the guy that works for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have a crush on like the water dude.
Yeah.
And they keep like running the water like too long just so that
he shows up,
and and then they like have like then they hook up and they have and it's like it's a thing,
Yeah.
and then they have like a relationship and it's not like a perfect relationship or whatever.
No.
I think did they end up breaking up? I can't remember. But like you see that happening, you see it
and
developing.
it's just like a background thing.
Exactly, but you see it developing and you're not like, oh, this is gay. This is a thing. You're just like, like the most drama that he has is that he puts his work first, or like he's not sure if he's super compatible with this person,
and his relationship with his mom is pretty
fun. Oh God, his relationship with his mom is great.
Anyway.
I love it. But like, it's like one of those things where like that so rarely happens.
Yeah.
Where you get to see like a queer person having a life experience. They either have to make it like so tokenized that they're like, I'm gay and my whole life is gay and here's my partner and we're adopting a child and everything's perfect.
Yes.
And you have to be like that whole like everything's perfect, queer people don't experience real relationships. Or it's like, oh my God, it's so hard to find love when you're queer because no one likes you. And you're like, what? What?
Yeah.
Why? Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Or they're like sort of the joke where they're like, oh, honey, what are you even thinking wearing that? You look like a straight up hussy. I love penis. And you're like, oh my God. Okay.
Right.
Like this isn't 1993. Like we don't gotta make it like who's writing this,
Right.
Mrs. Doubtfire too.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's fair. You wouldn't know.
Would you recommend?
Yes.
Okay.
I would. I think it's a fun watch. I think it's interesting. I think it's aesthetically great.
I found it very clunky, and the messaging is very confused to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very distracted by the sloppiness of what is going on.
Yeah.
Who am I supposed to care about? I mean, it's fine. It's still fun. And
yeah.
However, very hard to come by.
Yeah.
So
apparently not that popular.
Yeah. The DVD I got is like 6 MGM comedies from the 80s.
Like most of them I've never heard of too.
Yeah.
There might be one other one that I've heard of.
Overboard is on there.
Yeah. That's the only other one I've heard.
But then it's like Real Men and
I have no idea what any of these are.
Freezing the
The
Bussy.
The Bussy?
You know, that famous MGM comedy from the 80s.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I think if you're...
It wasn't a lot of fun for me.
For me, I'm saying. I said I think it's a lot of fun.
I know. I'm just wanted to register that for me it was not a lot of fun.
I enjoyed I enjoyed it. I think it's something definitely that's like, it's not, obviously it's not a perfect film because no film's perfect. Yeah, it's aesthetically nice. I think it's interesting. I think there's, something to be said about behavior and what's acceptable and the interesting thing of she's trying to make him behave a certain way and yet she likes him just because he doesn't behave like everyone else. And it's sort of does it really matter? I don't know. There's just a lot of things that I find appealing about it. And I think it's aesthetically, I love the aesthetics of 80s and early 90s movies. So I was all about it. But that's it. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I remember, though, we forgot Laurie Metcalf was going to be in it. When her name popped up, we were both like, oh, my God!
Oh, I had no idea. I mean, maybe you told me at some point.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it. We were, basically shitting our pants. When I told you about this. No, when I first told you about this movie, and you were like, oh, I don't know it. And you looked it up, and you were like, Ann Magnuson, Laurie Metcalf. And I was like, Laurie Metcalf? But I forgot anyway.
Yeah. I think you could make I think it's meant to be, you call it Born Sexy Yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it plays with the Pygmalion
And what's that?
Archetype, which is the Greek play or myth. I don't know if it was a play, but that My Fair Lady is based on. Like Bernard Shaw tried to make it a contemporary version, like where in the original, I believe, a sculptor falls in love with his creation.
I see.
And it comes to life.
Like you do. Mm-hmm.
But really, it's about like transference of like,
yeah.
I created this thing. Now I want to fuck it.
Yeah. Like you do.
So I think it is meant to play with that.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's too sloppily done to really be effective in that regard.
I think that's why I think it's fun, because it's not serious. Like it's like it's not done. It doesn't take itself very seriously.
Yeah, which is fine.
I think why I enjoyed it.
That's different than being sloppy in your messaging. But whatever.
I mean, it's also the 80s. Like, they were just trying to make a fun movie. I think all of my points were incidental. I don't think that they were trying to make any of these things. I think in the sloppy writing or in the sloppiness. This is why I'm saying I like it. I think like the Born Sexy Yesterday. I don't think they were trying to do that. I think that was incidental. I don't think it was intentionally
flipping that trope exactly.
All of the things that happened were all incidental, and I think that's why I like it, because I don't think they were trying to make any sort of feminist point or anything like that. I think they were just trying to make a funny movie, and like I think that's what I appreciate about it, is that it is clunky, but in its clunkiness, it does this and does that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I honestly don't know. Considering, I haven't seen Desperately Seeking Susan, but so I don't really know what happens. What?
Just your mic is just flying all over the place. It's funny to me.
But it is. I think it's similar to the similarities I draw between this and She Devil are it's like a weird, confused kind of feminism.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like, okay, I think maybe it's supposed to read as feminist, but is it?
Yeah.
All right. That's enough. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Come to Patreon.
Yeah. Oops, I forgot to talk about it at all. Oh, yeah, we have a Patreon. I forgot. Thanks for
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for watching.
Sit on your hoopy doo.
Can't throw you away now. Immortal and life size. My breath is inside you. I'll dress you up daily and keep you till death size. Inflatable doll, lover ungrateful. I blew up your body, but you blew my mind.